Hi, I'm Jodie, a relationship and sex therapist based in Southern California. Today we are continuing our Love Island saga. This is our third episode. We're going to be reviewing episodes from the show, season 8, numbers 4 and 5. If you saw me in other episodes, I'm talking about trying to combine them together because there's a million of these episodes, just so I can keep up with it all. So starting episode 4, we're coming in right after all like the insecurity kind of stuff started to erupt. We have Sincere talking to the other guys about what happened with Melanie. We've got Bea feeling insecure about what's going on with Gabriel because Gabriel was talking to Kenzie. A reminder, Melanie was feeling really insecure and kind of blew up, or like was really being kind of standoffish with Sincere after he talked to Kata when she came in and pulled her for a chat. We've got a lot of insecurity going around, so we're seeing kind of fallouts, some chats with their people and just kind of what's going on there. One really cute thing, Sean and Kenzie have really been kind of hitting it off. It does show like when it was time to go to bed that Sean snuck over and was giving Kenzie a little bit of a makeout, and there was even a little bit of a spicy throat grab in there. Hey, of course, consensual. Needs to be consensual and careful. Melanie is still in the hurt stage. I'm gonna be honest, Melanie starts really kind of losing me a little bit in these episodes, understandably feeling insecure, but again, we're still responsible for what we do with that. And Melanie's definitely kind of rubbing me the wrong way in how she is navigating the insecurity that came up. Again, it does not mean we're not holding Sincere responsible for maybe just there was room for definitely some more communication on how he handled that, but Melanie's definitely kind of acting out a little bit here. And like we said in recent episodes, like the defensive parts are really driving the bus right now. So Melanie pulled KC for a chat.
KC, I want to pull you.
Oh, you're gonna pull me?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
And they were kind of talking about how they're from a similar background, which you've heard me mention that this was also a reason I feel like Bea and Gabriel really hit it off. Again, it doesn't mean you have to be people from the same culture, but there is a natural closeness that can happen when you've grown up and come from a similar background. Melanie and KC, even though they're from different cultural backgrounds, they were talking about how they both came from large families and similar backgrounds. What was really interesting about that is just because people come from the same background, right, doesn't mean they want the same things. Melanie was saying, oh, hey, I actually want a really big family, and KC was like, I come from a big family. That's kind of why I don't want that. I actually want to just enjoy my life and not be necessarily tied down by those things. Or if it happens, it happens, but I'm not pushing for it. So it was really interesting. And I think a good example of seeing how relationships play out this way of just because you came from a big family or whatever does not mean that that's something that you then want. You might have actually had a bad experience, or not even a bad experience, but you just might have decided that when you get older, that's just not for you. Anaya, when she saw Melanie talking with Casey, was also feeling a little bit insecure about this. Understandably, I believe Anaya was kind of saying, like, I didn't really feel like Melanie was upfront about wanting to talk to Casey. I think this is where, especially on this show, you're really going to see that a lot, especially when this is like the thing that they do is like to talk to everybody. But, what is the social protocol for actually talking about, updating your friends, seeing if people are open, giving people a heads up, those kind of things. Then we kind of had Zach and Kata. They actually had cute moments. I think anything with Zach kind of because of what happened with Kenzie, like he kind of got a bad rap where, people kind of were like, I don't know, I almost felt myself like kind of hoping things didn't work out with him. Not necessarily anything that Kata did specifically, but just kind of the whole how it all happened. But they actually had some really cute moments, and it showed them like having some really cute discussions, and I actually really liked seeing them in the way that they were interacting, and it definitely like gained some more points with me and kind of wanting to root for them. Then we had the challenge, which was like office crush and then go inside and then make out with your actual partner after that. Of course, we had a new bombshell guy named Corbin hidden inside, and this was only the females that were going in, and so they were making out with him and getting introduced to him. Well, it was really only the making out and saying shh, don't tell anybody. Classic Love Island, a lot of making out, a lot of scandalous stuff, but you do start to see again some of the pettiness and things come out in these challenges with like, who'd you choose for this? They got to dunk somebody in some goop. Why did I choose that person? And being kind of like, ooh, you pulled my man for a chat, you're gonna get dunked. He started to kind of see some of these things and a little bit of shots fired. Definitely Melanie and Anaya were kind of having some hurt feelings. So you see a little bit of shots coming in there. Then we had Bea and Kenzie talk. That went really well. That one was really interesting because they were kind of talking about like why they chose each other for those things.
I want to talk to you about why like during the challenge I picked you.
Oh, yeah.
Because like I said before, Bea was feeling kind of insecure that Kenzie and Gabrielle were talking. And one thing I didn't like was Kenzie was like, oh, I didn't realize that you felt that way. And I'm like, girl, you know that they're kind of like dating, they're a couple, they're kind of seeing each other, it's not fake. Clearly she knew Bea really liked him, so it might be good to like check in. I feel like it was a little bit of a cop-out, but they were eventually able to kind of come back and like recover. So I was like, okay, all right, that feels a little bit better. Then we officially meet everybody in the villa, meets the new guy, Corbin, who's 22.
I'm Corbin, I'm 22, and I'm from Miami, Florida. I'm 6'4", I have tattoos, but great smile.
He then like pulled all the girls for a chat like collectively, and then eventually, you know, because they all seemed pretty interested, they were like doing goo eyes at him. Melanie asked him to go for a chat, which they kind of talked about this earlier. They kind of felt like girl code. I don't remember if all of them were in that, but girl code that Kenzie's the one that's not in a couple, so that she should kind of get first dibs. I agree, because again, it doesn't really matter anyway. You're gonna vibe with who you vibe with. I think that was accurate. I think Melanie wasn't thinking about anybody else. We're not saying to people please and whatever, but just be a girl's girl. You're here to vouch for what you want, but you don't need to step on other people to do it. And I feel like Melanie definitely was still in the get back at Sincere's kind of mode. So I feel like she was kind of not thinking about the other girls and just kind of like, hey, you want to go for a chat? And it just was read the room, be polite, don't throw your girls on the bus. And then when Bea brought that up with her, she went full defense mode.
That was a little excessive though, Melanie, because you're sitting right next to him. And it could have been like this, right? Kenzie's on the other side of you, and she's the one that's single, and you were leaning over.
Yeah, I couldn't.
And I felt like it was a little rude.
My bad. I honestly didn't know I was doing it. I was like not doing it on
was just probably
purpose.
so, like,
I was so
really-
looking.
I understand, but it's like it's
honestly
happened in
relaxed. Like
conversations
I've
before.
honestly just turned over because I didn't do it on purpose.
Well, don't tell me to relax, but I'm saying like it's happened before, and it just
When
to
did it
me-
happen before?
She did apologize. However, she did keep kind of adding this stuff around it. And it's really important to be like, how do we actually apologize? How can we take accountability? It's not going to feel sincere if you're bringing in all these explanations and all these other things along with it. And so I think that's why it wasn't landing, because she definitely was getting defensive. Hence why she ran off angry, being rude to the other girls, just like she was with Sincere, and then eventually had a crying meltdown. It's about catching that stuff earlier. I know it's hard to do, but again, she still was not gaining any points from me on that, and just kind of really emotionally immature behavior. I didn't really feel like anything Bea was saying was overly mean. It was just saying, hey girl, like, not cool. And Melanie didn't want to hear it and just kind of went with like a quick apology, and then kind of was making all these other excuses. And clearly like Bea's like, that's not gonna fly with me. Of course, when Melanie got challenged, then she kind of flew off the handle a little bit and then just started kind of being mean. And we've kind of seen that's a little pattern of behavior with her that I'm not a fan of. We continue with the Melanie meltdown. Following that, she's kind of seeking support from Anaya and then seeking support from Sincere. Then it shows like basically everybody had a chat besides Bea with Corbin. That was really interesting. He made out with Kenzie, and then you kind of did see a little bit of like the fuckboy behavior coming out, because then he went from Kenzie to Kata, and he asked Kata to kind of make out, and then Kata, good for her,
I want to like get to know you more
Okay.
before I jump into all that.
was able to hold a boundary and say, hey, no, I don't really feel like that's appropriate. Like, yeah, we already made out in the challenge, but that's a little bit different than here. Like, I'm just trying to get to know you. And also, he kind of did lie when she asked if he was making out with people, and he just did right before her and did not disclose that. So I was getting a little bit of like a feel with him. However, it did show that like the next day when Kenzie brought something up with him, he did own it. That will get a lot of points. Like, he did own that, like, yeah, that's kind of behavior I used to do. And I noticed, and I was thinking about it last night, is he sincere? Who knows? But we'll see. People who show emotional maturity to have accountability and empathize and not just defend everything that they do, and can actually just sit and not try to fix or explain something away or get the other person to like stop talking, are really gonna get a lot of points with me, right? Because this is such an important skill, and it shows a lot of emotional maturity. Those are the kind of partners we want to go towards. Can we have an argument, or is it going to fly off every time? Those are really important qualities for a partner. Sean pulled Trinity for a chat, so that was kind of interesting. To be honest, Sean has been one of my favorite people like the whole time. Not only because he's hot, of course. He just seems like one of the more emotionally mature people there. So he also has kids, right? So you kind of forced to grow up a little bit. I mean, let's not talk about Huda from last season, who also had a child and was not very emotionally mature. So again, there's no guarantee. Overall, I really like Sean. So he pulled him for Trinity for a chat. He was trying. He's respectful. He is honoring that they're in a couple. He's saying, hey, I am interested, but I'm also respecting where you're at. Again, I mentioned this on another episode. Love it. Melanie and Bea were able to chat after their kind of little blow up and fight with each other. And that was a really cute chat too, because Bea was talking about kind of feeling like, even though she's not like the most feminine, that she feels like she has to be feminine around men, which definitely is a theme that people hear.
You
But
say
like,
that shit.
more
Why do you
like,
feel like that?
Because I feel like I definitely need to play into this like very feminine role to be here. When it's like
you don't.
I don't fit into that until like a man makes me feel soft, like with Gabriel.
Yeah.
The other girls, I feel like can find this like softness, this sexiness. I'm very like loud and energetic.
Do guys like women who are a little bit more on the masculine side, right? A little bit tomboyish. They have short hair. There's things like that that just, you might not be able to change it, but it does still kind of suck, especially if that's not who you naturally are. As well as like they were talking about like just natural tendencies to compare against each other, which we know they've all had their insecurities. That definitely comes up. And just being able to be vulnerable with people and how difficult that is, especially from some people's upbringing. So I really loved that conversation. I did not like though that after that conversation, then Melanie was kind of talking shit.
Yeah, I'm mad that I pulled you first.
Oh, for real? They were supposed to?
Not they, but I guess some had certain feelings about me pulling you first, but they were taking too long.
I was like, that's a little shady to like make those amends with the girls and then kind of go and make that kind of comment again. Just shows that maybe she wasn't actually remorseful or saw anything wrong with what she did. Melanie's still not winning points with me right now. Then it had showed a little bit of Casey and Anaya's conversations. Even though they ended up being like a default couple in the beginning, they have really grown and have become one of the more like stable couples, which has been amazing. I love how he was giving her compliments and even like honoring her as a Black woman and kind of verbalizing how he knows that they kind of have like the shit end of the stick a lot, where they're not always viewed as beautiful by a lot of society, and how much that sucks because he finds it beautiful and many people find it beautiful, and to know that that chips away at their confidence was really great. And there was another part in the episode too where even Trinity was talking about, as Trinity tends to be a thinner bodied person, how there are these kind of things where even she was seen as too thin, right? And all the community body standards and beauty standards and all these other things of like, I hear that a lot with cultural components too, especially as you start to get more mixed cultures and things. We just look for ways people don't fit in, which is really sad. It makes us kind of chip away at our confidence. The episode ended with a recoupling. I love that a lot of them seem to be choosing people for the right reason. It was supposed to be girls picking, which it was. However, Corbin, as the new guy, got to pick his girl first and he chose Kenzie. So that we already like, okay, what's that gonna mean now? Is she gonna get to choose again later? Is that a closed deal? What's going to happen? Then we had Casey and Anaya, again, picked perfect reasons. Melanie and Sincere, glad for her to kind of get over whatever she was going through and to like lock back in. Zach and Kata, not surprising. Gabriel and Bea, which again, not surprising. And then Trinity chose Bryce, which we were a little confused there for a second because like, oh, we haven't had many conversations. I was like, oh, dang, is she about to choose Sean? And then we were like, okay, Sean's left over. What's going to happen? And I'm so sad that he got kicked off.
What the fuck?
That's good, man. My dog.
I'm so sad. I was like, he's like the most mature person on here. Why did he leave? My neurodivergence, I was like, that's not fair. Like Kenzie would have probably chose him. Why? So I'm still grieving this and don't know what that's gonna look like. Totally unfair. I'm gonna need a minute. We're gonna see what happens next. I'll catch you next time.